Hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritland. I'm John Ritland, and I'm back with more worst matches I've ever seen, worst wrestling matches I've seen. This is part 9. Basically, it's endless because and there's been way more good than crap. Way more good than there has been crap. But some of that crap has been memorable, and I'm here to talk about 3 matches. And basically, we're going to start off with from New Blood Rising. Chris Kanyon, or Positively Kanyon, I think he was still Positively Kanyon. I don't remember. I don't even think anybody knew what was going on at that point because they had so many gimmicks going on at once. So it was Kanyon versus Buff Bagwell in a Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. Now look, there's jokes about Judy Bagwell being a bit too much of a shadow on Buff and him being too much of a mama's boy. I don't know if that's the case, but that's the rumor. But Judy Bagwell got put on a forklift, and instead of on a pole, which you couldn't put Judy Bagwell on a pole. That would be just too dangerous. But you put Judy Bagwell on a forklift, and I'm like, it's fat shaming. It does no good, and I'm all for jokes, but this just was crap. A New Blood Rising was a good concept because you had the new blood, ascending. You had new talent in WCW, and it was a good idea in theory, and it was from Canada. It was a pretty damn good hotbed for wrestling. But this whole thing was just crap. And it's really sad because the New Blood Rising card could have been pretty good. And despite some matches that weren't terrible, this was just one of those where it's like a forklift. Really. It was just bad. It was just fat shaming. It just wasn't a good idea. And it just didn't do anything for either performer. It was just bad. And it's like, and Kanyon was a much better performer than this. Bagwell's a much better performer than this. There are worse gimmicks out there, don't get me wrong, way worse. This was still pretty bad, though. And that's why it's getting mentioned here. And now we go to DDP and Jay Leno. Yes, Jay Leno, the former late night talk show host, but at this time current late night talk show host. DDP and Jay Leno versus Hogan and Eric Bischoff with Jay Leno's band guy, Kevin Eubanks, on the outside. This is from Road Wild 1998. Now, they did a good job promoting the whole thing on the Tonight Show when they had DDP and Malone versus Rodman and Hogan. That was a good idea. And then they did the Tonight Show thing again, and they had a pretty cool thing with Bischoff putting his feet up on, Leno's desk and that kind of stuff, taking over the Tonight Show set. That was kind of cool. And then, unfortunately, they had Jay Leno get in the ring. Instead of having Jay Leno in the corner of DDP and have another wrestler there, or even, it's like, I don't know who else they could have gotten, but they could have gotten like somebody that Bischoff was feuding with at the time. It's a damn shame that Ric Flair didn't come back at that point because you could have had DDP and Flair versus Hogan and Bischoff. But Flair would return a bit later and actually get a thunderous pop in North Carolina. I believe it was in Charlotte or Greensboro. I feel bad for forgetting which one. But it was so great. Just Flair's pop. Anyway, I'm going back to this whole Hogan, this whole debacle. Hogan and DDP should have had a better feud than they had. Just including Jay Leno in this match just was not good. It's like Leno tried, I'm sure he tried hard. And I'm sure he took it seriously, but he just wasn't an athlete, at all. And I'm not saying Bischoff was an athlete, but at least Bischoff was, had karate martial arts training and some stuff, and some boxing, that kind of stuff. What Jay Leno have? Jay Leno rode motorcycles, told jokes, and collected expensive antique cars. That's really all he did. Kevin Eubanks should have been in the damn match, because at least he could throw a pretty mean diamond cutter and had, a decent physique from the looks of it, or at least decent arms. It was just a mess of a match, and it was in Sturgis, which Sturgis wasn't a good idea either. It looked kind of cool, but most of the paper, Hog Wild 96 wasn't so bad, and Road Wild 97 wasn't terrible, but 98 just wasn't that good. It just really wasn't. It was pretty damn bad, which is really sad given how some of the talents and some of the undercard matches were pretty good. This was just terrible, though. You did have Eubanks hit a diamond cutter. You had DDP. Do his thing. You had Jay Leno get the pin, though, on Eric Bischoff. It was just bad. It was just a garbage match overall. and was one of the reasons why WCW wasn't going to be able to recover, even at its height. And I'm sorry, there are people, and I'm just going to say it, there are people that are going to say, oh, well, Vince Russo is the one that killed off WCW. Look at where WCW was before he got there. And I'm talking in 99. This is, I want to say in October of 99 he went there. I don't remember the exact timeline. WCW was unsalvageable by that point. At least the ratings spiked up a little bit. I mean, let's give a little bit of credit where credit is due. Who killed WCW was the AOL Time Warner merger. It was not anybody in creative. It was not any of that stuff. It's like if you take a look at how WCW was booked from late 98 till that point when Bischoff got, fired, it was unsalvageable by that point. So I'm not going to look at that or anything like with Russo and blame him without pointing right to AOL Time Warner and like Jamie Kellner, I believe is his name. That piece of shit who thought that, WCW just wasn't profitable when it would have been if you would have put your faith in it. But no, you couldn't do that. Now you're not even popping ratings like you did with WCW, even at its weakest. That's enough of a little rant there. But yeah, it was a pretty shit thing to have Jay Leno in the ring. And now we go to Ric Flair versus Hogan, uncensored, 1999. It was a first blood barbed wire cage match. Except then Flair, who I guess was the president of WCW, didn't want the match stopped for just a little cut or this kind of stuff or whatever. He wanted to beat Hogan. And why would you put Hogan and Flair in this match in 99 when neither man really could climb? I mean, Flair was at least a little more athletic by this point. Hogan couldn't even move. Hogan could barely leave his feet without looking arthritic. And this was in 99. And the guy was, on limited appearances anyway because of his contracts. But it was just horrible, and it was one of the few times that Flair ever got a victory over Hogan. And it was in the most weird shenanigans thing with Charles Robinson as a ref, with like everybody, with people interfering and all this crap and whatever. It was horrible. I mean, why did this happen? Why was this match happening? It was just brutally awful. And 1999 was a bad year for WCW for pay-per-views, which is sad because Spring Stampede just a month later, Spring Stampede 99 was a great match. But yeah, Ric Flair versus Hogan just was not a good match. I mean, it's just, you're watching it and you're thinking, okay, 94, I understand. 95, I understand maybe why they might face off. I don't even think they faced off much in 95. 96, I get it because Hogan turned heel. But yeah, by 98, 99, why is this happening? I even think they main evented a pay-per-view in 2000. Which I believe Kevin Sullivan's to blame for that because he was uncreative. Or whoever's to blame for it. I mean, I'm still going to blame AOL Time Warner. But yeah, Hogan versus Flair just did not need to main event a pay-per-view because it was a cage match and it was bloody-ish, but it was stupid. It was just stupid, and it was just one of these where I'm just watching it thinking, why is this happening? It was just awful. So anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave that off. So are there any matches that you want me to talk about? Mind you, check out my other shows, my other worst wrestling matches shows before you leave anything in the comments. And like, share, and subscribe. And my Twitter link is in the description if you'd like to talk more. It's been Real Aussie with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin, and I'll see you soon.